Hey guys, Jay here. I thought I would do a yoga for hip health class for y'all, if I can talk. This may be a short class if I can't talk. Because I feel like with all the sitting and the home quarantining, we're probably all a little bit stoved up in our hips. So this class is going to be called Yoga for Hip Health. A couple of things I'm going to want you to try to grab at home if you can. I'm going to use a yoga strap. If you have a strap at home, that's fine. If not, grab a belt, maybe a towel, something long enough that you could wrap it around your foot and still hold your hands kind of close to your body. So that's why like a short dish towel, a little wash rag probably won't work. So it could be just like I said, a long towel, a belt, a strap, something long enough to be able to wrap it around your feet, depending on the length of your legs. Also, if you have blocks, I am sitting on blocks just like this in what we call hero pose. You're welcome to do that if you have, and it doesn't have to be blocks at home. You can use maybe some stacked blankets. You can always sit in a chair if that works better for you. But I want you to feel like you're elevated enough so that you're comfortable, because a lot of the reason we tend to be where we tend to be tightest in the hips is the psoas, the front. So when we're sitting super deep and our hips and our knees are high, these muscles get really short, and they get kind of chronically short because we sit a lot. And so it's nice to give the places in the front of your hips a little bit of space. So whatever you have to sit on is fine. You can sit on your heels if that's comfortable for you, but just remember that if it doesn't feel good on your heels or your ankles to do that, then go ahead and switch to the hero version where my feet are kind of on the outside of my hips, so I'm not sitting on my heels. It probably looks like I am, but I'm actually really not. And if none of those options work, you have the option to sit on or off blocks in what we call Sukhasana, an easy seated position. So it's really up to you. I do want you to be able to feel your sits bones wherever you are. So if you're sitting on the floor or sitting on your blocks, kind of pull the flesh out from your sits bones, and I really want you to feel the connection of the sits bones on the block or on the floor, because we're going to do an exercise in the beginning where I'm going to have you rock on your sits bones to get the proper position of your hips. And if you can't feel your sits bones, it's kind of hard to get that connection with them. So I'm going to sit in the kneeling hero Bakasana with blocks underneath my hips. You don't have to. Try to keep your knees about hip width apart. You just don't want them splayed way out wide, just because that can be a little bit pinchy on the low back to do that external rotation. But it's really up to you. The main thing for you at this point is to have some comfort in your hips and in your low back when we get started. Your strap or your towel can be off to the side. We're not going to use that yet. I do have my phone with me. It is not because I'm answering a really important text or doing something else. It's because I've actually written out this class on my phone, and so I may have to refer to that from time to time in case I don't remember. We all need all the help we can get. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Also, you may want to have some water nearby if you decide you get thirsty. It's always nice to kind of hydrate your body, keep your body hydrated. That liquid really helps keep your body, you don't want your to be dehydrated, because that affects everything, your tissues, your muscles. So staying hydrated is really important. So go ahead and come into whatever position you choose, the easy sitting Sukhasana. And before we get started, I want to mention to you guys that the hips are where we hold a lot of stuff, and our hips can be really tight, our low back. And remember to make this work for you. For some of us, the hips just tend to be chronically tight. There's a difference between discomfort in a stretch and sharp acute pain. We are never, never, never going for any sharp or acute pain anywhere, ever, in a pose or in a class. So if something feels too intense, it feels really painful, I want you to back out of it to the point where it feels comfortable to you. It's okay, and when I say comfortable, I mean it's okay to be uncomfortable in a pose and in a stretch. I just don't want you to be so uncomfortable, acutely, painfully uncomfortable, that you can't breathe, that you really can't soften or relax in any way. Because the body's ability to soften or relax into a pose or a shape is really where the release, the unwinding, the release of tension comes from. So being able to do that to some degree really does help. So Welcome to Yoga for Hip Health. My name is Jay. We're going to get started. So whatever position you're in, I want you to have your palms down on your legs, somewhere on the knees, wherever you like. And go ahead and close your eyes and just take a couple of breaths in and out through the nose. And start to think about shifting from your day onto your mat. So anything that might have happened today, anything that might have happened yesterday, what you're worried about happening tomorrow, see if you can just set all that aside. Leave it outside the room, maybe in a drawer in your mind, whatever little imagery works for you, but see if you can set it aside and just take the next hour or so, take this time for yourself. Noticing what's going on in your body before we get started, your physical body. Notice sensation in the body. No right or wrong answer. Check in with your subtle, energetic body. Your mind, your breath. Just really noticing what's going on in your body right now. Taking all that awareness that's usually pulled outside of ourselves by external stimulus, external things going on, shiny objects around, and directing it inward, giving the space for our inner needs and wants to sort of bubble up and be heard. And I want you to have a sense that you're balanced a little bit on the front edge of your sits bones. So you're not tucking the tailbone under and rocking way back, losing the curve in your low spine. And you're also not so far forward that you're overarching the back. You want to have that nice little, you're always trying to keep the natural curves in your spine. So finding that place where you're on the front edge of your sits bones, maintaining the curve in the lumbar spine. You can always reach back and feel, making sure that it's not flat in the low back. You've got that gentle little curve right at the base of your spine. And once you've kind of rocked forward on the sits bones, then gently kind of bring the ribs a little bit down and in, and the belly button up and in. So you're kind of, it's like one action against another action is what helps you kind of seal in that neutral position in the hips and in the pelvis. And once you feel that, if you've taken your hand behind, go ahead and bring it back in front, palms down. And we're going to start to take that focus and that awareness into your breath. So on your next breath, see if you can breathe into the lowest part of the spine, the low belly. Breathing forward into the low belly, into the sides of the hips, into the front of the hips, the psoas, into the lowest parts of the low back, the tailbone, the lumbar spine, and even up a little bit towards the belly button. And just like when you blow up a balloon, you can see that the air expands the balloon in every direction. It doesn't just go one way. So I want you to imagine that your breath is just like that balloon. As you breathe into the low body, imagine that that balloon is expanding in every direction. So you're getting air and space into that whole lowest part of your spine, front, back, sides, up, down, even down into that pelvic bowl, that pelvic floor. And as you exhale, you're going to gently squeeze that air out of your body, bringing the belly button back to the spine and allowing yourself to get all the way to empty. So allowing that exhale to finish, get all the way to empty. And then you can pause there or go ahead and move into the next breath. And just keep breathing into that low belly, into that pelvic floor. We are always guarding, bracing ourselves, every little muscle in our bodies sometimes. So see if you can really soften on that inhale. Allow all of the tension to release. Here, feeling that Expansion on the inhale, really allowing that expansion to get as big as it wants to. And as you exhale, compressing, squeezing all of that air out. We're going to do a few more breaths with our pelvic floor, just imagining that our pelvic floor is an elevator. So I want you to, as you inhale, the elevator goes all the way to the lowest level, the basement. And that's where your pelvic floor is completely relaxed. No tension, no holding, no gripping there. As you exhale, you're going to start to take that elevator up and start to squeeze that mula bandha, those mula bandha muscles, those pelvic floor muscles. It's like the muscles you use to cut off the flow of urine. And pull up maybe to about the third floor. Just use your mind's eye. And exhale, release, and totally take yourself all the way back to the basement. It's important to allow the complete relaxation of the muscles at the bottom of this hold. This is a lock, so you want to allow, after the contraction, for the lock to release. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in, totally released on the inhale. As you exhale, start to squeeze up. Maybe you go up to the 6th floor. Just a little bit over halfway, trying to really focus on just those parts. And when you're ready, inhale, release with control, kind of taking it down floor by floor, part by part, all the way back down to that total release of tension, holding, gripping all the way at the bottom of that inhale. Next exhale, you're going to come up, start to squeeze up maybe to the 9th floor. We'll have 12 floors, so you're probably 3/4 of the way in. And then just hold right there, feeling that contraction of those pelvic floor muscles. And then inhale, release, start to move down, slowly coming all the way back to the basement, totally releasing all tension, all effort at the bottom. And one more time, this time we're going all the way up to the 12th floor, the penthouse, if you will. So deep after you've inhaled and you're totally released, no tension. As you exhale, start to move that elevator up past the 3rd. Keep going all the way up past the 6th, the 9th, and all the way up to the 12th floor. This is as high as you can go. Start to really squeeze, hold at that top floor. Brief little hold right here. And then see if you can exhale with control, floor by floor or section by section, slowly coming all the way back down. When you get all the way to the basement, your exhale should be finished and you've totally released all tension. And we're going to do a couple of reset breaths just to let all that go. So I want you to inhale, take the shoulders up to the ears, and exhale, sigh, relax the shoulders down. 2 more times, inhale, come up, exhale, all the way down, and 1 more time, inhale, up, exhale, release, come all the way down. And we're going to rock now. You can go ahead and open your eyes if they were closed. We're going to rock on the sits bones back and forth. It's sort of like a seated cat-cow. So what I want you to do is bring the hands in towards the crease of the hips. The heels of the wrist comes in towards the crease of the hips. And you're going to pull the chest forward and lead with the chin. And you're going to come right onto the front edge of the sits bones. And then as you exhale, you're going to roll onto the back edge of the sits bones and hollow out the body. And kind of pull the belly button back to the spine. And I want you to move back and forth. Inhale, just kind of rocking forward on the edge of those sits bones. And exhale onto the back edge of those sits bones. It doesn't have to be a big, strong tuck. It's more of a hollowing out of the belly. And inhale forward again. And exhale, slide the hands towards the knees as you rock back. Last 2, coming forward. And last 1, exhale back. Coming all the way back. And then come back to center and close your eyes and just see if you can find that place on the front edge of your sits bones where you feel that neutral position in your pelvis, that perfect position where you're maintaining the curve in the low back, but you feel like you're really feeling the hard press, the firm press of those sits bones into your blocks, into your mat. Allow those sits bones to feel heavy, grounding through those sits bones. Couple of breaths here. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. And we're gonna come forward, so take your blocks off to the side if you were using blocks or whatever you were using, and drop onto the hips. And before we do the next pose, just take your legs in front and just point and flex the feet a few times. Pointing and flexing the feet. You can kind of circle the ankles around a couple of times, maybe 3 times one way, 3 times the other way. Just kind of giving those ankles some love, wiggling out those feet. So we're moving into what I call kind of a modified version of pigeon. I think it's a really good way to open up the hips without going into full pigeon first, because a lot of people have struggle with pigeon because it's a really intense hip opener. So take your feet over to the left, and I want you to have your front foot tucked into the thigh of that leg that's reaching back. You can kind of center yourself on your mat where you feel like you're not leaning too much. So just kind of lift that back hip and sort of adjust yourself if you need to. So your legs are dropped over to the left, and you've got the left leg pulled back, and your right leg pulled back, and your left foot is kind of tucked right inside the thigh. So starting here, once you feel like you're nice and stable, go ahead and turn and place your hands on either side of the front knee. And once you get here, go ahead and walk forward and just allow yourself to drape over that front knee. You can always stay up on the hands instead of dropping all the way forward. And just notice how this feels. So if you're not feeling anything in the hips here, come around to the shin. Come right in front of that shin. Once you get in front of the shin, a couple ways you can get a little bit of extra traction here is to take your right arm out to the side and kind of anchor, ground that arm, and push away from that hand, getting a little bit deeper into that right hip. Lean forward here. If you want to come onto the elbows and forearms, you can right here. Again, keeping that hand out to the side. If that leverage makes you able to stay in this pose, and I want you to hold it here and breathe. Forehead is kind of facing the floor. You're looking down at the floor. Breathing into that right hip. And as you're breathing into the hip, go ahead and think about, just like when we started, breathing into the whole lowest part of the spine, the low belly, the tailbone, the sides of the hips, just keeping that breath really originating from that lowest part of the belly. Big inhale through the nose, and big sigh, all the way out through the mouth. And 2 more times, inhale through the nose, and exhale, all the way out through your mouth. 1 more time, big inhale, and sigh. And with this last sigh, see if you can melt any little bit forward, lowering the forehead to the wrist or the hands. You can stack the hands. Any last little bit you can let go of. Surrender forward, last breath here. Hip stretches can be intense, so just see if you can breathe through the discomfort. And if you can't, if it's really acutely uncomfortable, just come out for a minute and then see if you can come back in. Slowly on an inhale, push yourself up from wherever you are. Coming all the way up, not changing the legs. I want you to turn towards that left leg and grab the knee and the ankle with your hands. Sitting up tall, see if you can just turn and look behind you. And walk the hands across, over, palms outside the opposite leg. And from here, you're just going to do a little counter twist, just kind of gently lower the forehead towards the mat. Inhale, press it up. And then you're just going to hold here, looking over the opposite shoulder. Inhaling towards towards the front. Now, staying on the same side, we're gonna lean back. So walk the hands back. You have not changed your legs. They're still in the same position. So when we lean back, we're gonna go more after the quad and the hip flexor on the back leg this time. We're gonna try to hit all the attachments in and around the hips, just because a lot of different muscles, attachments, ligaments can really affect your hips and the healthy movement of your hips. So we're going to hit some antagonists, synergists, all types of attachments in and around the hip, the front of the hip, back of the hip side. So we're going to come at it from a couple of different ways. So once you've leaned back, I want you to make sure the front knee stays grounded. If it starts to pull off the mat, that's where you're going to stop and hold it right where you are. You also want to be careful you don't feel this in the low back. So watch that too. You can engage the left glute and press the left hip forward a little bit to make this a little bit stronger. So that leg, that back leg, you're engaging that left glute and pressing forward into that left front hip, that left hip flexor. If you have more space here and you feel like you can drop onto the elbows and the forearms, that's okay. But if that knee's coming off and or you're feeling it in the back, I want you to come up off of the floor. So hold it here and breathe. You can look straight ahead, or you can allow the head to relax back and look up at the ceiling. It's really up to you, whatever feels more comfortable for you. You just find a nice stretch in your body. We're all built different. Our bodies have different joint formations. We have different histories in our bodies. So if the shape I'm in is not working for you, that's okay. Make it work for you and your body. So on your next inhale, take your left hand and just reach it back and look back at that hand. Still balancing on that right elbow. Reach back, look back. Remember, you're keeping the glute engaged, pressing that hip forward. And then take the hand behind your head, elbow opens up to the side, and just look up. From here, you're welcome to take your left hand and reach it over by the right hand and just look right here at the floor. Bone density, folks, anybody wanting to avoid a lot of torque in your spine, stay right here. If you feel like you want a little bit more and you don't have any issues with bone density or any issues with your spine and your back, you can try to take the elbow to the floor by your other hand. From here, carefully release both hands down. Walk the hands in, all the way into the hips, sitting up nice and tall. From here, you're going to bring the legs in front and shake them out. So just lean back onto your hands and just kind of shake out the legs. Give them a shake. I'm pushing on the molding. It's making this weird squeaking noise. Hopefully you at home can't hear that. And then once you've kind of shaken that out, go ahead and take your feet a little bit bent. We're going to do a windshield wiper here, so allow the knees to drop all the way to one side. You can kind of look over the other shoulder if you like, and then inhale slowly through center, and exhale, look over the other shoulder. A couple more times here. And back through center. Go ahead and bring the legs in and cross. We're going to come into a cross-legged Sukhasana position. If you need blocks for this or to sit up on a blanket or something, I totally encourage you to do that. So grab those things if you need. We're going to do a little hip work here, and then we're going to do that same series on the other side. So from here, I want you to lean forward a little bit, walk your hands out in front, and keeping the hinge through the hips. I want you just to lean forward any amount. And just start a little easy sway, a little rock, where you're kind of taking the outside of your arm and your shoulder to one knee, opening up the other side, the other hip, and then coming through center, other side. Next time you lean to one side, take your hand inside that leg, and don't be right on the knee, maybe a little bit below the knee, and just see if you can't just gently press the leg away from you, creating some space from this hip all the way up into the ribs and maybe into the shoulder. Your opposite hand can be on the floor, it can be in front like mine is, it's just wherever it's comfortable. Make sure you're not crunching the shoulder into the neck. You can look over the other shoulder if you like, you can look straight ahead, or down at the floor, wherever your neck feels best. And from here, slowly come through center and switch sides. So you're kind of leaning over to the other side, gently pressing the leg away. Remember, not right on the knee, especially if it bothers your knee. A little bit below, more on the meat of the thigh is fine. Looking up over the shoulder. Here, looking straight ahead or looking at the floor. Just making this work for you. Same thing, going for space from the hip all the way up the rib cage, maybe even into the shoulder. We don't tend to lean side to side as much, and that's a lot of times where our body gets short and tight, especially if you're short-waisted like I am. So coming back to center, I want you just to kind of do a little rock side to side here a couple times before we switch. Just kind of leaning, rocking, dipping one shoulder down and then the other. And next time you come through center, take the fingertips or palms behind you, pull the shoulder blades together and open up the front body, lift the chin. Really feel that stretch all on the front of the throat, underneath the jaw. And bringing your head forward, switch out the legs. Same thing here, from here, push forward, hands in front. Again, you can kind of, if you feel a little bit more open in the hips now, you can come a little bit further forward if that feels okay. If not, stay out of that little rock side to side here again, just a little rock, shoulder kind of nudging, or the outside of the arm nudging the inside of one knee. Go ahead and hold on one side, pressing your hand to the meat of the leg, being careful with the knee, and just gently try to get that space. Remember, this is not a big crank. This is not a big force. It's like you're talking your body into opening up instead of demanding that your body opens up. So remember, this is sort of a suggestion, a request of your body instead of a mandate or an order. So think of it that way. Because our body, don't we all respond better to that? Well, our body is no different. And from here, slowly coming through center, switching sides. Remember, making the other hand can come here for support if you choose. Being careful, just gently opening up through that side body, looking up at the ceiling, straight ahead or down. Just allowing the surrender. It's like gravity is doing most of the work. You're just encouraging that opening, not really trying hard to force or shove your body into a shape. Coming back to center, when you get all the way up, fingertips behind, palms down or fingertips down, either way. I want you to feel that lengthening in the spine. From here, open up, look up. And bring your head all the way forward. So moving on to the opposite side, legs go over to the right this time. Again, adjust yourself so you feel like you're not the Leaning Tower of Pisa, like you're gonna fall over. So foot inside the thigh. The back foot, you can have the foot pointing back if you like. I mean, it's kind of up to you. It's really more about your comfort and how this feels to you than exactly how my feet are. So the back foot can either be out to the side or in line with the leg. I kind of tend to like to keep my foot in line with the leg. It just feels better in my ankle, but you do what works for you. So going ahead and coming forward over the knee, over your left knee this time. You can walk forward, coming down onto the elbows and just kind of allow your body to sort of drape over the knee. And some of you may feel a stretch here, and that's fine. If you feel a stretch here and you're perfectly content here, that's fine. Maybe you feel something, but it's not, you don't feel like you're not getting your money's worth if you're not in agony in a stretch. Trust me, you're getting something. Don't always feel like you have to jam yourself all the way into your edge. So if you're feeling a good stretch here and you're comfortable here, stay here. You can walk the elbows in front of the shins. You can take the left hand out to the side for leverage. So you're grounding through that left hand out to the side, and you're using that to keep your body kind of moving in the opposite direction, staying in this hip on this left side. So just kind of stay forward here. Give your body, breathe, and kind of, you always want to come into an intense stretch by degrees. So maybe go like a third of the way in, 35% in, hold it there. Give your body time to adjust to the stretch and decide, okay, how do I feel here? You're giving yourself time and space to sort of decide where you need to be in the stretch. If you're good here, stay here. You may want a little bit more. You have the option of coming onto both elbows right here in front of that shin. Breathing into the left hip, the whole lowest part of the spine, but especially the left hip. So staying here with the elbows down or the hand out to the side. Big inhale through the nose. And big sigh through the mouth. See if you can surrender on that exhale any amount, the resistance to the pose. See if you can let that go on the exhale. 2 more breaths like this. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale, sigh all the way out through the mouth. 1 more time, deep breath in. Exhale, sigh. With this last exhale, see if you can melt forward any amount. Maybe you get your head onto your hands. Maybe you're just kind of staying propped up a little bit higher. One side may feel different from the other. Just honor your body. Stay here and breathe. See if you can breathe through discomfort. Breathe through the urge to move. See if it passes. Last few breaths here. Let go of anything that you can. And slowly on an inhale, coming all the way up. Walking the hands in, sitting up nice and tall. Turning towards your right leg, grab the knee and or the ankle. And from here, just gently turn and look across the back shoulder. Trying to keep the spine long, not over cranking. And inhale, slowly moving the opposite direction. The hands come onto the mat outside the other leg and just gently kind of turning a little bit through the waist, below the ribs. Just allow yourself to slowly soften the elbows as you release the forehead towards the floor. Brief little hold here. And then inhale, slowly push yourself back up. And holding it here, just look over the opposite shoulder. And leaving your one hand back, taking the other hand back, we're going to move into the quad and the hip flexor stretch on this other side. Remember, it can feel very different from one side to the other, so it's just really up to you and your body. So you want to engage the right glute and press that hip forward a little bit. Make sure the knee stays down, stay out of the low back. So just start to allow that engagement of the glute to start to open up the front of that left hip and that left hip flexor. Pressing that forward. Remember, you want to keep the knee down, staying out of the low back. If you feel like you're getting a really good stretch here, stay right here. If you feel like you're not and you have a lot of space, go ahead and slowly lower maybe onto the elbows. Once you get on the elbows, see if the knee is coming off. If it is, come back up onto the hands, and or if you're feeling it in the back. So remember, you can kind of drop onto your elbows here if this feels okay. You have the option to look up at the ceiling or whatever works best for your head. I'm cheating a little bit. I've got a blanket back here I didn't even know I had. So remember, this is about opening the front body, but we don't sacrifice one body part to get at another. So if you're feeling this in the lower back, then come out enough to where that low back discomfort disappears. Holding it here, keeping that engagement in that right glute. That will help protect your back also. Few breaths here. Nice, easy breaths into the lowest part of the spine, the low belly, the low back. Allowing the opening to sort of unfurl, unwind at its own speed. Sweet talking that front hip flexor into starting to open up a little bit. Keeping the engagement in the glute, take that hand, that right hand, reach it back and look back. I'm kind of running into a wall here, but hopefully at home you're not. So if you want to lean back, just look back, still taking the weight, and most of the stability is coming from that left shoulder. And slowly take the right hand outside your head, elbow out to the side, hold it right here. You can look up if you like. Deep breath in. As you exhale, take the hand by the other hand and just turn and look at the hands on the floor. This is totally fine. Stay right here. If you have any issues with bone density, with your bone density in your spine, osteoporosis, osteopenia, or if you just have issues in your spine, issues in your back, you're probably safest, and I would say stay right here. If you feel like you have a lot more room and you do not have any of those issues, you can try to take your hand behind your head and maybe start to take your elbow to the floor. If you get a part way down and it doesn't feel good, come out and change it to the hand. It is up to you. Breathing into the ribs. Slowly release both hands to the floor and carefully push the floor away from you as you come all the way up. Start to walk those hands in. Once you get the hands in, take the back leg and bring the back leg forward and give yourself some space to kind of shake out those legs. Shake them out. You can take the feet, kind of do the windshield wiper with your feet if you want to. Roll the ankles a couple times each way. Coming back to center, we're going to go ahead and come onto our hands and knees for a tabletop, but we'll do a quick child pose just to kind of allow the low back to get a little bit of love, because sometimes stretching the front body can make the low back a little bit cranky. So from here, go ahead and take your knees about the width of your what I'm trying to say is take the knees about the width of your mat, or wider if that feels better to you. Hips are going to go back to the heels, or maybe they don't go all the way back. It just depends on your knees, how much bend your knees are comfortable with, and also your ankles. You can always put a rolled up blanket underneath the front of your ankles for support. And so from here, or not go back as far. So wherever you're comfortable, just try to relax into the version of child's pose that feels comfortable to you, that gives you a nice release in the low back, the low spine. And drop your forehead to your arms and or your hands or your mat. Just hold it there and breathe. Eyes closed, breathing into the lowest part of the spine, allowing the release of the low back. You can have a little sway here if you like. You can be still and center. It is up to you. And take a big inhale into the low spine, the low back. Exhale with a big sigh all the way out through the mouth. 2 more times here. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, big sigh all the way out. And 1 more time. Deep breath in. And big sigh. Coming all the way out. Go ahead and bring your hands forward and pull forward into your tabletop. Knees lining up under the hips, wrists lining up under the shoulders, feet are lined up with the legs, the knees, and your fingers are nice and wide, so take up some space with your hands. Once you get here, inhale, kind of allow some space along the front body. Belly button softens a little bit to the floor. You lift the tailbone and you come forward, looking forward. Eyes can go up if you like. And just a little bit of a pull of the shoulders back so you're not kind of crunching the shoulders forward. And then exhale, neutral spine here, or you can move into cat, arching the spine up. Bone density folks, you want to stay here in the neutral spine. Other people, if you don't have any bone density issues, you can play with cat a little bit more. So move back and forth, inhale forward, and exhale back. And see if you can isolate both of those motions. Sometimes our hips and our upper body tend to get a little bit locked together. So see if you can lock your low body where your hips feel like they're neutral, and then just move the upper body in and out of that cat-cow without allowing the hips to move. It's so weird, but it's a good exercise in kind of
reminding that your hips and your rib cage and your shoulders can kind of separate out those movements. And then try the opposite, where you have your upper body still and you keep the belly button into the spine, and maybe you play with what we did on the block, the little rock on the sits bones. Upper body doesn't move, but you're just moving the hips in and out of cat-cow. So play with both of those to see how that feels. And coming back to that neutral position. So if you have blocks at home, grab them. Or if you have books or something like that, that's fine. You can grab them. You may not need them, but go ahead and grab them. So from your tabletop, you're going to take your right leg all the way back, and your left knee is going to be bent. It's sort of like a one-legged child's pose. So once you get here, walk up onto the fingertips. This is where you can play with blocks. If you feel like you really can't get enough lift out of the front body, then that's where the blocks are really nice. So from here, just slowly roll the right hip towards the floor, look over the left shoulder, and then come back and just do a little rock the other direction. So it's a lazy sway, side to side. Remember, hands on blocks if you have them. If you don't, use books or just stay up on the fingertips. One more time, side to side. And next time you look over the left shoulder, hold it here, and really allow the right hip to sink and drop towards the floor. You can keep the back foot flat and try lifting the back knee on that right leg a little bit, making that stretch a little bit deeper into the psoas and the hip flexor. And if you still feel like you're not getting enough of a stretch here, try tucking the toes under and lifting and starting to press that right leg towards straight. Strong in that right leg, looking over the left shoulder, really going after the front of, strong in the right leg, I should say, right leg. You can even engage the right glute. Keeping that right glute strong, that's what really helps get into that psoas. Slowly coming to the center, not changing the position of the leg, and trying to keep the ribs in, just look forward and or up. Strong in that right leg, toes under or foot flat, really holding it here. And then releasing that knee down and flipping onto the top of that foot, taking the block off to the side. And from here, just slowly bring the right knee and the left knee side by side, knees wide, another child's pose here. So hips go back. We're not going to stay here very long. We're actually going to do a little circle here. So don't drop your head all the way down, just kind of let your head come a little bit down, and I want you to kind of walk your hands to the right while you push the hips to the left. And inhale through center, walk over to the left while you push the hips to the right. Back to center, and from here slowly you can walk your hands forward, drop all the way down into that child's pose. And then inhale, just pull yourself forward back into the tabletop, arrange the knees, hip width apart. We're going to move to the other side. So right knee forward, left leg is back. Once you get the left leg back, go ahead and bring the blocks in. If you're using them, blocks in. And this allows you to come upright. I always feel like I have T-Rex arms in this pose. You may not. If you don't, lucky you. But if you do, see if you can get your hands up on something, whatever you have at home, books, a stool, whatever might work is fine. So once you get here, you're just going to allow the hips to kind of rock and sway side to side. So let the left hip start to kind of roll towards the floor, look over the right shoulder, and slowly inhale through center and look over the left. So just keep that nice and lazy rock, side to side, easy little rock from one side to the other. We're just trying to sweet talk that psoas and that hip flexor into giving up a little bit. One more time each side. And next time you look over the right shoulder, just hold it here. So remember the top of the left foot is down. You can try lifting the left knee up and see if that gets into your psoas. If you feel a good stretch here, stay here. But if you want a little more, tuck the toes under and lift
and you're pressing strong through that left leg, engaging the left glute if you can, and just holding it here, trying to get that left psoas to open up. Breathe into the left psoas, left hip. Trying to keep the chest up as much as you can. What I like about this is that with one leg bent and forward, it tends to not aggravate your back as much. It's hard to get into the psoas sometimes without aggravating your back. Keeping the strength, really pressing through that left heel, left leg stays really strong, engaging the left glute. Slowly start to come forward and then hold it forward, lift up any amount, looking straight ahead or up. You can always take the eyes up instead if it feels like you're cranking into the back, and try to keep the shoulder blades engaged enough so you don't round the shoulders forward. And exhale, release the knee down. Slowly take your blocks off to the side. And with your hands down, I didn't mean to chuck mine off the stage, but I did. So from here, bring the front knee back, back knee forward. And once you get here, we're going to do some little hip circles. So I want you to let your hips drop to the right, and then go back towards the right heel, pull around the left side, and come all the way forward. Do that a couple more times. Easy little hip circles. Make these nice and lazy and yummy, which is my favorite word. I get made fun of for using that word a lot, but I do like that word. And reverse though. So push over to the left and then back to the left heel, and then circle around coming forward on the right side. So a couple more here. And last one. Go ahead, and next time you move back in the child's pose, brief hold here. Knees separate wide, coming onto the elbows and forearms, and just relax your forehead down onto something. Hold it here. Take some big inhales and exhales, just kind of allowing your body to relax and soften. Giving the low back some love. Big inhale from the tailbone all the way up the spine to the top of the head. And exhale, feel it move all the way back down from the top of the head, down the spine to the tailbone. Two more like that. Inhale from the tailbone all the way up. And exhale, moving right back down, softening, surrendering, letting go, all the way down to the lowest part of the spine. Last one, inhale all the way up, feeling space between each vertebra, creating length, space, all the way up the spine. And then exhale, feeling that softening into that space you've created, that letting go, that release of tension, resistance, all the way down to the tailbone. And from here, I want you to inhale, come forward again. And once you get forward, go ahead and grab a blanket if you feel like you want to use it for your knees. I'm going to work on opening up the adductors. I think that's important for the hips. And a lot of times this can be a little uncomfortable on the knees. So grab a blanket, a towel, or something that you have. You can turn sideways on your mat if you like. If you don't need to, if you're on carpet, that's fine. You just want to feel like your foot is nice and solid, secure, grounded out to the side. So I'm shifting over toward the right side of my mat. So you guys can do that too. Or you can just stay facing me, and I want you to take your left foot out to the side. Have the left toes pointing forward. So they're not turning to the side. The left toes are still pointing forward, the same direction as your fingers. So fingers and toes are pointing in the same direction here. You can take it a little bit wider out if you have space in the hip to do that. So once you get here, I want you to do a little rock forward and back. Just kind of rock forward and back. Going after the adductor, the inner thigh muscles here. Feeling a little stretch, maybe a big stretch. Just being careful you don't overdo it, don't go in too far, too fast. And then coming back to center, see if you can lower onto the elbows and the forearms here. And find a spot where you really feel a stretch in the inner thigh. It can be a little bit forward, maybe you want to go a little bit back. But find that place where you can stretch right here and hold it. You can lower your forehead onto your hands, or you can stay up on the elbows. And if you really feel like you need to stay up on the hands, I invite you to do that. Everybody's a little bit different in where they have tension in and around the hips. So if your inner thigh is really tight, then give yourself time up on the hands and see if your inner thigh opens up a little bit. So just breathe and try to just feel some space, length created right in that inner thigh on that left side. Inhale through the nose and exhale. Big sigh wherever you are. Inhale again. Exhale, lower. And one more time, big breath in. Exhale, lower. Go ahead and come up onto the hands if you're not already. Leave your left hand down, take your, leave your right hand down, take your left arm, reach it across and then up to the ceiling, a little thread the needle here. So exhale, reach underneath, and inhale, open. Yeah, one more time, reach underneath. Inhale, open, last little hold right here, reaching up. And exhale, take the hand down. Now the fun part, we're gonna do that on the other side, so it's usually a little bit stronger. So just do what you can. If you're only out from the shoulder, that's fine. You don't have to come up to the ceiling. So opposite arm, we've switched now. Your left hand is down. Your right arm is gonna reach underneath towards that foot. And inhale out to the side or any amount up to the ceiling. I don't get all the way up to the ceiling. If you can, fine. If not, no problem. And exhale underneath. And inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, last time, hold up wherever you are. I'm gonna stay out from the shoulder. You guys stay where it works for you. And exhale, lower that hand all the way down. So from here, you're gonna carefully take that left foot, bring it in. Taking that left foot in and just slowly come towards the opposite side of your mat, or you're going to move right over to the other side. Before we do, wherever you are, I want you to do a couple of cat-cow side movement here. So wherever you are, take the hips to one side. So you have the option, you can take the hips to the right and look over the left shoulder, come back through center, go the other way, or you can compress one side. So you're taking your head, your shoulder, and your hip together on one side, to squeeze one side to open up the opposite side. So you can do that side to side if you want to. You can take the feet in the same direction of where you're squeezing off that side, really opening up one side by gently compressing the other side. One more time, each side. And back to center now. Grab your blanket, put it underneath your knee. If you haven't already, put it underneath your left knee. And take your right foot out to the side. So toes and hands point in the same direction, toes and fingers. And if you've got more space and you want to take that leg further out, it's fine. Just find a comfortable spot. You should start to feel this in the inside of the right leg, the adductor, the inner thigh on this side. So remember, you can always be up on the fingertips here if that makes you feel better. On the wrists, you can drop onto the elbows if you have space to do that already. I want you to rock forward and back. Just rock forward and back, gently trying to sweet talk that inner thigh into opening up, letting go of some tension. So if you're feeling a good stretch here, stay here, don't move. If you want a little bit more, you can play with dropping onto the elbow and the forearms and keeping that little rock forward and back. And just gradually find a place where you're feeling a nice strong stretch right inside that thigh. Hold it here on the elbows. If you can, release your head onto the hands. Support your head anytime you can. If this feels too deep for you, then try staying up on the elbows and forearms, or you can come all the way up onto the hands. So up on the hands, either way, just hold it right here, wherever you need to be, hold it here and breathe. Breathing into the right hip. Taking a big inhale through the nose and a big sigh all the way out through the mouth. And again, breathe in, big sigh, softening, letting go. And last one, big inhale. And
and big sigh, trying to completely surrender, relax all the way down wherever you are. Just last little hold right here. And then from here, go ahead and come back up onto the elbows and then the hands if you're all the way down. Once you get here, leave your left hand down. Inhale the right arm either out from the shoulder or up to the ceiling, and just exhale, reach across, threading that needle a little bit. Move it back and forth 2 more times, inhaling up, exhaling across. Last one. Inhale up. Exhale across, reach back up, hold it here. Last little reach up, hold it here. Remember, you can look up at the ceiling, look in front, or at the hand on the floor, whatever feels best for your neck, and then lower that hand all the way down. Moving right over to the opposite side. On the other side, we usually don't have as much room, so you can take the hand right out from the shoulder if you need to here, so it's up to you. Reach across towards that foot, and then inhale, take the arm out from the shoulder or a little bit higher, just see how you feel. I'm gonna stay right here. Exhale, reach underneath. Inhale, out from the shoulder or up, and one more time. Exhale, reach, inhale, hold it here, last little hold. And exhale, lower that hand down carefully. Once you get here, take that foot that's out to the side and bring that leg in. And go ahead and drop onto your hips, because we're gonna head down onto our backs. This is the part where you're probably gonna wanna have your towel and or strap. If you have something you want to put underneath your head and neck, you're welcome to do that too. So kind of scooching forward on your mat, giving yourself space to lie down. I want you to reach the hands in front and just lower yourself nice and slow, 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 all the way onto your back. And once you get all the way down the back, I want you to extend the arms overhead, legs long, big whole body stretch. And exhale, just relax. You can keep the arms overhead. If you prefer, take them down by your sides, palms out. And just take a minute to sort of process and absorb information in the body from all those stretches we did. We went into the hips, the glute muscles with our modified pigeon. We got into the psoas and the adductor, the inner thigh, and we're going to do a little bit of hamstring work. Trying to hit all those attachments, all those things that affect the hips, the hip position. And when you're ready, deep breath in again, reach long. And as you exhale, slowly walk the legs in and then hug the legs into the body. Grab them below the knees or behind the knees, whatever feels better for you. Just kind of gently open up that back, hug those legs in. You can do a little rock side to side if you want to, kind of rolling around on the back, circling around one way, maybe the other. Noticing how your hips feel, how the low back feels. After all that work, one more squeeze in, and then go ahead and release the left foot down, take the right leg up, and just go ahead and bend and straighten that right leg a couple times. Bend and straighten. And hold the leg straight, interlace your hands behind that leg somewhere. Try not to take your hands up so it pulls the shoulders way off the floor. Try to keep the shoulders, shoulder blades anchored, grounded, and also not let your neck and your chin come off the floor. So wherever you are, just go ahead and point and flex that right foot a couple of times. And circle the right foot and ankle. Maybe 3 times one way, 3 times the other way. And then coming back to a flexed position, go ahead and grab your strap and or your towel, whatever you have, and wrap it around the foot. Once you have your strap or towel wrapped around the foot, again, try not to walk your hands up the strap unless you can keep the shoulders and shoulder blades grounded. That's why I kind of really like you to hold a little bit closer to the body, because then it keeps you from reaching and striving so hard to get up to that foot, which is really not all that important. So I want you to start to feel that the strap being pulled towards your head creates tension for the back of the leg to stretch into. So trying to hold a flex right here, pull that leg in, stretching the back of that leg. Your left foot can be bent or straight. If it feels like it's a little bit less of a stretch when the leg is straight, or if it's too strong, just change it. Make this work for you. It's up to you. Once you get here, an easy little rock of that leg, side to side, easy little rock. Just noticing how changing the position of the foot and the leg changes the stretch. I always like to do a little bit of dynamic work if I can on muscles that we know are tight, and the hamstrings are pretty tight on most people. And then go ahead and start to circle the leg. Just do easy little circles with the whole foot and the leg, maybe 3 times one way, circling that leg around, then reverse that. And last time, going ahead and coming back to center, holding it back in center, seeing if you have any more room to pull the leg in a little bit closer. Grounding, pressing through that left leg. If it's straight, you can flex the left foot too. Hold it here and breathe. The leg can be bent. It does not have to be totally straight. And if you have to give yourself a lot of room on the leg, that's fine. Everybody's different in their hamstrings. So remember, don't feel like you have to match me exactly. You don't. You just need to do what feels good for you and what opens up your hamstrings. So wherever you are, I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, pull the head and leg together. And then see if you can leave the leg where it is and just release the head and neck back to the floor. 2 more times. So deep breath in. Exhale, pull head and leg together. Don't lose the position of the leg as you come all the way back down to the floor. Last time, deep breath in. As you exhale, pull, 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 pull. Last little hold. Keeping that, release everything down. Hold it here, trying to keep that opening going through the back of that leg. Flex the toes, flex the foot any little amount you can here. Spread the toes if you can. I know it's intense. It is for me too. And then when you're ready, deep breath in. As you exhale, release the strap, release that leg all the way down. And then just go ahead and take your hands and open and close the hands a couple times, wiggling the fingers, just kind of getting rid of tension from the death grip from the strap. That's what that means, death grip. I made a new word. And just roll out the wrists a couple times. And take the palms up, close your eyes, and just notice how the right leg feels versus the left. Notice the hips. Just notice how the hips, the low back, that whole hip cradle. Notice how that feels different from all the stretches that we've done. From when you started class till where we're moving towards the end. We're almost done here. So go ahead and bring the legs in. Take the feet about the width of the mat and allow the knees to drop towards each other. Just give the sacrum, the SI joints, a little bit of a reset. Allowing the low belly to be soft, to kind of relax into this position, and the hips and the pelvis. Relaxing that pelvic floor. And when you're ready, slowly release the knees. Start to bring the feet back about hip width apart. Left leg comes in this time, and go ahead and just straighten and bend the left leg a few times. Just opening up behind the knee and the crook of the knee, and just allowing the left leg to start to open up and expand in the back. Holding the leg straight, interlacing your hands behind the leg. Remember, you want to try to keep the shoulders and the head and neck really comfortable on the floor. Right foot can stay where it is, leg can stay bent, or you can extend it long on the floor. It is up to you. Wherever you are, point and flex that left foot a couple of times. Really getting that full range of motion each part of this. So really, as you flex, press the heel up, feeling that stretch in the back of the leg. And as you point, stretch the front of the foot and the front of the ankle and the front of the leg. Moving into circles through the ankles and the feet. Well, the ankle and the left foot. And coming back to center, hold that flex. Go ahead and grab your strap, your towel, whatever you have. and wrap it around the left foot this time. I just basically ate my strap without meaning to. So once you get it situated, I like to keep the strap close to the ball of my foot, but it's really wherever it feels best for you. So once you get here, just flex that foot, pull the strap in close enough to feel the back of the leg start to get a nice stretch. Starting to unlock, open up that back leg. A little bit of a flex here, pressing, grounding through that right leg or right foot if it's bent. And from here, start to allow a little easy sway. It's not a big move, it's really just kind of outside the frame of the body either direction. And it's not super fast, you don't really have to whip that leg side to side. You're just moving kind of slow, noticing how the change of the position of the foot hits a different spot on the back of the leg. And gradually start to move that into a circle, just like you did on the other side. So it's just kind of a lazy little circle with that foot and that leg. Maybe 2 or 3 times one way, and then reverse other way. And next time you come through center, hold it here. Really pulling the leg in, keeping the foot flexed. We're going to do that same little opening for the back of the left leg that we did on the other side. So it may feel very different on this side. It's fine. Just acknowledge what each side is experiencing and feeling and make adjustments as you need to. So deep breath in. As you exhale, pull the head and the leg together. See if you can leave the leg where it is and lower the head, neck, and shoulders back to the floor. We have 2 more like that. Deep breath in. As you exhale, head and leg come together, head and knee pull. See if you can leave the position of the leg and really allow the shoulders, the back of the neck, everything to release back to the floor. Also watch the position of the foot. Sometimes the foot will slightly turn out or it may change a little bit. Try to really keep the toes lined up with the leg. Last one. Big inhale, pull the head and leg together, and then keeping that release all the way down. Last hold right here. Keeping as strong a flex as you can stand, trying to get a little space in between the toes. Last little intense stretch here. Deep breath in, and exhale, release that strap, release that leg all the way down. Take your strap, your towel, whatever you're using, off to the side. Extend the legs long, arms long, big stretch. And exhale, bring the arms back by your sides. Last thing we're going to do here before we start to head into Shavasana is a little bridge pose. So walk the feet in, have the feet about hip width apart. Remember, if bridge bothers your knees, scooch the feet, kind of walk the feet a little bit farther away from the hips. So just kind of make this work for your body. We're all built a little bit differently in our leg length and in our hip joints. So from here, grounding through both feet, lift the hips, slowly coming up. Keep the ribs down and just press into the front of the hips. So don't feel like you have to open up a lot through here. I want you to keep the back of the ribs down and just make this about the front of the hips. Trying to keep the knees about hip width apart, allowing space for the neck and the shoulders. And slowly lower about halfway. Keeping that engagement in the back body, not tucking the tailbone under, freeing that tailbone, allowing that tailbone to float a little bit so that the curve in your lumbar spine stays right where it is. And lift up, ribs down, really pressing through the front of the hips. And halfway lower. One more time, lift. Using those glutes. Ribs stay soft, back of the ribs stay down. And then from here, lift the heels up, last little hold here. See if you have any more room. Once you lift the heels, see if the hips, usually that frees up the front of the hips to get a little bit higher. And then exhale, heels down, hips come all the way down to the mat, nice and slow. Once you've totally relaxed those hips, bring the knees in and roll around on the back. Lazy little rock on that spine. You can have the soles of the feet together, a bound angle here. If you want to, holding onto the outside of the feet. If you like, and or the ankles, again, try to watch the shoulders and the head being pulled forward. Happy baby is fine. If you want to, Pulling the shoulder blades down to the floor, really keeping the shoulders in socket here. Rocking a little bit if you like. Last little stretch right here. And then release the feet. Carefully lower the feet to the mat. And once you get your feet on the mat, extend the legs long. Extend the legs long. Not knocking over your water bottle like I almost did. Arms out from the body. And if you want to adjust the shoulder blades before you do that, dig the elbows into the floor. Lift the shoulder blades off the floor and pull them down and release them back into the floor. You can always do the same with your hips. If your hips feel like it's a little bit too compressed, then you can lift and just tuck, kind of, I wouldn't say tuck, I would say extend the tailbone down towards the end of the mat and release the hips back down. Don't like that word tuck in case you didn't pick up on that. And take the feet wide, let the legs relax out. You can always add any other little preps if you haven't already, blanket underneath the head and neck. Moving into that final Shavasana, that final pose, that final resting pose. So you stay where you are, eyes closed. Hopefully you're comfortable and you've covered up if you need to. I'm going to come up. And so wherever you are, go ahead and just close your eyes and allow the body to relax. I want you to really feel the tailbone heavy in the floor, the hips heavy. The low belly sinks back towards the spine. And relax all tension, relax all effort in and around the hips, relax that pelvic floor. Allow any little bit of the tension, the guarding, the gripping just to melt away. Untangling, unwinding, undoing any last little places in your body that feel like they might be holding on a little bit. Remind your body it's okay to let go, to relax. Feeling safe, supported, cradled by the ground, mat, the earth. And allowing yourself to be supported, accepting that help, accepting that support. Allowing the softness to come in, inviting the softness, the ease in with your inhale. And exhaling out the rigidity, the bracing, the guarding. And feeling each exhale surrender deep old layers and levels of tension in those hips, in that body. There's no effort involved. You're shifting from the effort into the ease, allowing yourself to surrender to this moment, this breath, this Shavasana.
Shavasana. So if you're not ready to come out, feel free to mute and stay in Shavasana as long as you like. Without moving or changing a thing, just take a moment to check in and notice sensation in the body, how you're feeling on a physical level. Checking in with your subtle energetic body. Notice that kind of low level hum. And check in with your mind, your breath. And go ahead and start breathing on your inhales into the lowest part of the spine, breathing into the low belly, breathing into the pelvic floor, the tailbone, through the sides of the hips, down into the pelvic floor, a little bit up towards the belly button. Just like you breathed in every direction, expanded in every direction when we started, I want you to do that same thing now. And as you exhale, just gently squeeze, compress all that air out of your body until you get totally, completely empty. And 2 more breaths like that. Inhaling, low belly. Feeling yourself slowly start to expand, open every direction. And exhale, gently squeeze, compress, till all that air is gone and you're completely empty. 1 more, inhale, open, expand, stretch on the inhale. And exhale, squeeze, press, release all the air out. And at the bottom of that breath, just go ahead and let go of any effort around your breath. Start to slowly wiggle fingers and toes, easing into movement. Lazy little wake up stretches through the fingers, toes, hands, feet. And when you're ready, if you like, inhale the whole body long into a big stretch. And as you exhale, go ahead and roll over onto your favorite side. Roll over onto that side and just curl up on your side for a breath. And just check in and notice how you feel. Notice your hips. And just take a moment and see if you can be thankful, grateful for your hips and all they do for you. Be thankful that they help you move, walk, sit, bend over, come up. Your hips are an integral part of our basic daily movements, and so thank them for all that they do for you. Be grateful that they have the range of motion that they have and they move how they move, because they're very important for our mobility, flexibility in the body. And with that sense of gratitude, slowly press yourself up from the floor. Taking your time, moving into a sitting or kneeling position, palms pressed together in front. On your next inhale, moving from the tailbone, feeling that subtle energetic lift through the front and back of the spine, back in front of the ribs. Feel a little lift through the crown of the head, creating a little space between each vertebra. And as you exhale, slowly bow your head forward, thumbs come to the center of your forehead, touching that third eye, acknowledging your inner wisdom, and trying to listen to that intuition, that inner voice that we all have. Eyes open, slowly adjust to light and color, and when you're ready, lift your head all the way up. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope that your hips feel awesome, maybe a little bit looser, a little bit lighter. So hip routines are really important for all of us to do, so anytime you get a chance, If you've been sitting a lot after a long car ride, I think it's really important to give those hips a little bit of love. So hope you enjoyed my hippie class, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.